The first encounter. In the far reaches of the galaxy, humanity had finally made contact with an alien race known as the Vraxians. After years of observing strange signals from a distant star system, Earth's best scientists confirmed the source was intelligent life. Excitement ran high as the first human delegation prepared to meet the Vraxians, a species rumored to have advanced technology beyond Earth's wildest imagination. Commander Sarah Holt stood aboard the Starship Endeavour, gazing out at the swirling nebula ahead. This mission was her life's work, and today, humanity would step onto an alien world for the first time. The Vraxians had agreed to host the meeting on their home planet, Flora, which shimmered in deep violet hues through the ship's viewing windows. "Commander, we've received the docking coordinates from the Vraxian ambassador," the communications officer said, interrupting her thoughts. "They've cleared us for landing." "Excellent. Let's prepare the delegation. This is the beginning of something bigger than any of us," Sarah said, feeling a rush of anticipation. The human crew was a mix of diplomats, scientists, and military personnel. All had trained rigorously for this moment, yet no amount of preparation could dampen the awe that came with first contact. As the Endeavour descended into the atmosphere, the crew marveled at the alien landscape. Towering crystal spires glittered across the planet's surface, and floating cities hovered above lush forests of blue and silver flora. It was a world straight out of their dreams, both familiar and alien at once. Upon landing, Sarah and her team disembarked onto a gleaming platform. Awaiting them was the Vraxian ambassador, a tall figure with slender limbs, shimmering scales, and luminous eyes. Beside the ambassador stood a group of Vraxians, each with their own unique markings that signified their rank and expertise. "Welcome, humans," the ambassador said in a voice that resonated deep within Sarah's chest. "We have awaited this moment for many cycles. I am Ambassador Xilas, and I will guide you during your stay on Flora." Sarah stepped forward, bowing slightly in the gesture they had practiced. "Thank you, Ambassador Xilas. It is an honor to finally meet you. On behalf of humanity, we look forward to a future of cooperation and shared knowledge." As formalities were exchanged, the atmosphere between the two species felt tense yet hopeful. Both sides were eager to learn from one another, but there was an underlying current of caution. The Vraxians, with their centuries-old civilization, had seen many worlds come and go, and they viewed humanity as a young species, full of potential but untested in the vast universe. Sarah and her team were led into a grand hall, where negotiations were to begin. The room was lined with intricate carvings that depicted the history of the Vraxians, their rise to power, and their mastery of space travel. As Sarah looked around, she couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at how long the Vraxians had thrived in this galaxy. Ambassador Asayas gestured to a round table in the center of the room. "Let us begin our discussions. We have much to talk about, and time is of the essence." A new understanding. Days passed as the human and Vraxian delegations delved deeper into negotiations. The initial conversations were formal, centered around trade agreements and the exchange of knowledge. Yet, as time went on, the two species began to share more personal stories, slowly building trust. One evening, Sarah found herself speaking with Ambassador Asilas alone in the Vraxian capital's observation dome. The night sky was filled with unfamiliar constellations, and the two watched in silence for a moment. "Your people have much potential, Commander," Asilas said thoughtfully. "I see in you a drive to explore and innovate, much like our ancestors once had. But I also sense hesitation. You are wary of us." Sarah smiled faintly. "It's true. We've never encountered another intelligent species before. There's so much we don't understand yet, and that's always a bit frightening. But that doesn't mean we're not excited. In fact, we're eager to learn." Silas turned to face her, his luminous eyes reflecting the stars. "Learning is the path to unity. We too were once a young race, curious and uncertain. Our journey through the stars has taught us that cooperation, not conquest, is the key to survival. But tell me, Sarah, what do your people seek most from the galaxy?" Sarah thought for a moment before replying. We seek knowledge. The universe is so vast, and we've barely scratched the surface. Every new discovery opens up more questions. We want to understand, to grow, and to find our place among the stars. Silas nodded. That is a noble pursuit. We can offer you the knowledge of countless worlds, Commander. But there is one thing you must remember. True strength comes from within. No matter how much technology you acquire, it is your resilience and adaptability that will define your place in the galaxy. The conversation left Sarah with much to consider. The Vraxians were offering humanity a wealth of information, but there was an unspoken challenge in Silas' words. The universe was not only about technology or power, it was about understanding and growth. As the negotiations continued, tensions began to rise. Not all Vraxians were as eager to cooperate with humans. A faction within their government, led by a counselor named Vetra, believed that humanity's rapid expansion posed a threat to their ancient ways. Vetra was vocal about her concerns, often interrupting discussions with sharp criticisms. Humans are reckless, she declared during one heated meeting. They leap into the unknown without understanding the consequences. We cannot risk our future by aligning with such a volatile species. Sarah, maintaining her composure, responded, We are new to the galaxy, yes, but we learn quickly. We have faced countless challenges on our own world and overcome them. We are not here to disrupt or conquer. We want to build something together. Vetra's eyes narrowed. And what happens when you decide you want more? When your ambition outstrips your understanding? History is full of civilizations that destroyed themselves through greed and ignorance. The room fell silent. Sarah could feel the weight of Vetra's words, and she knew that many in the room shared her concerns. Yet, she also knew that this was a pivotal moment. If humanity was to earn its place in the galaxy, they would have to prove their intentions. The test of trust. Tensions between the two species reached a tipping point when a sudden crisis arose. A nearby star, vital to the Vraxians' energy supply, began to destabilize. Without immediate intervention, the collapse would trigger a chain reaction, devastating their home system. Ambassador Silas approached Sarah with a plea. We need your help, Commander. Your technology may be the key to stabilizing the star. If we fail, it could mean the end of our civilization. This was the moment Sarah had feared and hoped for. Humanity had the means to assist, but the risks were enormous. If they failed, the consequences would be catastrophic. However, if they succeeded, it would solidify the bond between humans and Vraxians. I'll do everything I can, Sarah said, her voice steady. We'll work together to save your world. And so, the true test of humanity's place in the galaxy began. Crisis in the stars. The Endeavour crew scrambled to understand the looming crisis. A team of human scientists, led by Dr. Elena Markov, worked alongside Vraxian engineers to study the destabilizing star. The Vraxians, while more advanced in many ways, had never encountered such an anomaly, and humanity's expertise in stellar physics was suddenly invaluable. In the heart of Solera's capital, a massive control center was buzzing with activity. Holographic displays of the star flickered across the room, showing how it was rapidly collapsing into a supernova. The Vraxians were on the brink of panic, but Sarah maintained her calm as she worked with both teams to coordinate a solution. Commander Holt, our analyst, shows that we have less than 48 hours before the star collapses completely, Dr. Markov said, her voice tense but focused. And you're sure the plan will work? Sarah asked, looking at the data displayed in front of them. It's risky, Markov admitted, but using our experimental graviton emitters, we can stabilize the star's core long enough to buy time for a long-term solution. We'll need to send a team close to the star to deploy the emitters manually. The room fell silent as the gravity of the situation sank in. Sending a team so close to an unstable star was nearly suicidal. The radiation alone could kill them, and the star's erratic bursts of energy would make the mission even more dangerous. Ambassador Silas, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. We are prepared to assist, Commander. Our ships are capable of withstanding extreme conditions, and we will send our best pilots to escort your team. Sarah nodded, grateful for the support. Thank you, Ambassador. We'll need every resource we can get. But not everyone was eager to cooperate. Councillor Vetra, who had grown more vocal in her opposition to humans, stormed into the control room. This is madness, she declared, her eyes blazing with anger. We're putting our entire future in the hands of these reckless humans. There's no guarantee they can save the star. We should be preparing to evacuate, not risking our lives on a fool's mission. Sarah faced Vetra calmly, though the tension in the room was palpable. I understand your concerns, Councillor, but abandoning the system isn't an option. If we don't act now, millions of your people will die, and the entire star system will be lost. And what if you fail? What then? Vetra shot back. We won't, Sarah said firmly. We're in this together, and we'll do everything in our power to save your world. Ambassador Asilas stepped between them, his voice calm but authoritative. Councillor Vetra, I understand your fears, but we must trust in our allies. Humanity has shown great resilience and ingenuity. We must give them this chance. Vetra's eyes narrowed, but she said nothing more. She turned sharply on her heel and left the room, leaving a heavy silence in her wake. A perilous mission. The mission to save the Vraxian star began with an eerie sense of calm. Sarah had chosen a small, highly trained team to accompany the Vraxian pilots on the perilous journey toward the star. Among them were Dr. Markov, 2 human engineers, and a Vraxian scientist named Jarek, who had been instrumental in the mission's planning. As their ships neared the star, the heat and radiation levels spiked. The ship's shields strained against the intense energy, and the crew could feel the vibration in the walls around them. Despite the overwhelming danger, Sarah remained focused. Deploy the graviton emitters, she ordered. Dr. Markov, monitor the readings. We need to ensure the emitters stabilize the core long enough for us to make the adjustments. The emitters launched from the ship, speeding toward the star's surface. For a moment, nothing happened. The team watched anxiously as the star continued its violent throes, spewing plasma and radiation. Then, slowly, the star began to calm. It's working, Dr. Markov exclaimed, her face lit up with excitement. The core is stabilizing. We've bought ourselves time. A wave of relief swept through the team, but it was short-lived. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. Commander, we're detecting a massive energy surge from the star, Jarek shouted, his voice laced with panic. Sarah's heart pounded as she glanced at the displays. The star was still unstable, and a huge solar flare was building. If it hit them, it would tear the ships apart. We need to get out of here now, she ordered, turning to the Vraxian pilots. The ships veered sharply away from the star, but the flare erupted faster than expected. A blinding flash filled the view screens as the solar flare shot toward them, a deadly wall of fire and radiation. Sarah braced herself for impact, but at the last moment, one of the Vraxian ships veered in front of the flare, its shields absorbing the brunt of the explosion. No, Jarek shouted as the ship was engulfed in flames, disappearing into the bright light. The rest of the fleet managed to escape the flare's reach, but the cost was devastating. The loss of the Vraxian ship weighed heavily on the team as they returned to Xlera, their mission incomplete. They had bought time, but at a great price. The cost of victory. Back on Xlera, the mood was somber. The loss of the Vraxian ship and its crew had hit the planet hard. Councillor Vetra seized the moment to reignite her opposition, calling for an immediate end to the partnership with humans. This is what happens when we trust outsiders, Vetra declared during a public council meeting. They bring death and destruction to our doorstep. We must protect ourselves and sever ties with these dangerous beings. The room buzzed with murmurs of agreement, but Sarah refused to back down. She stood before the council, her resolve stronger than ever. Yes, we've suffered losses, she said, her voice steady. But we've also made progress. The star is stabilizing. With a little more time, we can save this system. The humans didn't cause this crisis. We're here to help solve it. You asked for our assistance, and we won't abandon you now. Ambassador Silas stood by her side, his voice filled with conviction. Commander Holt speaks the truth. We cannot allow fear to guide our actions. The humans have risked their lives for us, and we owe them our trust. Let us honor the fallen by seeing this mission through. After a tense silence, the Council voted to continue the partnership. Despite Vetra's protests, the majority still believed in the human alliance. With renewed determination, Sarah and her team set to work. Over the next few days, they deployed more graviton emitters around the star, stabilizing it enough to prevent a supernova. The process was slow and grueling, but eventually, the star's core settled, and the danger passed. The crisis had been averted, and Slura was safe for now. The Vraxians held a grand ceremony to honor those who had sacrificed their lives and to celebrate the successful alliance between their species and humanity. As Sarah stood beside Ambassador Silas, watching the twin moons of Slura rise over the horizon, she felt a sense of accomplishment unlike any other. Humanity had proven itself not through conquest, but through cooperation and compassion. "We've come a long way," Silas said quietly, his eyes reflecting the light of the moons. Sarah nodded. "This is just the beginning. There's so much more out there for us to explore, and now we'll do it together." As the celebrations continued, Sarah couldn't help but think of the vast universe beyond Slura. Humanity had taken its first steps into a much larger galaxy, and there were countless worlds still waiting to be discovered. But one thing was certain: they would not face the future alone. The stars were calling, and humanity was ready to answer. The aftermath of Unity. Months had passed since the crisis with the star, and life on Slura had returned to a semblance of normalcy. The partnership between humans and Vraxians had deepened, and both civilizations had grown from the shared experience. Research and trade flourished, with scientists from both sides working on new technologies, and cultural exchanges further solidifying their bond. However, not everyone was satisfied with the newfound alliance. Councillor Vetra, still harboring deep resentment toward humans, had been gathering followers in secret. She had been working behind the scenes, spreading fear and mistrust, fueling the belief that humans were not to be trusted. Despite the success of the joint mission, Vetra argued that humans were dangerous, unpredictable, and would one day turn against the Vraxians. It was during one of these secret meetings, held in the underground chambers of Slura's capital city, that Vetra unveiled her plan. "We cannot allow this alliance to continue unchecked," she declared to her supporters. "The humans may have helped us once, but their influence is growing too quickly. Soon, they will dominate our culture, our technology, and eventually our world." Her followers, a mix of influential politicians and military leaders, murmured in agreement. The seeds of rebellion had been planted. "What do you need me to do, Admiral?" she asked, her voice calm but resolute. "We need you back on Slura. If there's an uprising, it could tear the alliance apart and, worse, lead to a war between our species. You've built strong relationships there. We need you to find out who's behind this and stop it before it's too late." Sarah nodded, already mentally preparing for the mission. "I'll leave immediately." The rising storm. Back on Slura, tensions were reaching a boiling point. Councillor Vetra had grown bolder, her influence spreading through key parts of the military. Rumors swirled that she was planning a coup to overthrow the current government and expel the humans from their world once and for all. Sarah arrived on Slura under the guise of a diplomatic mission, but she quickly made contact with her Vraxian allies, including Ambassador Silas. Together, they worked to uncover the details of Vetra's plan, gathering intelligence and tracking her movements. One evening, while Sarah and Silas were reviewing intelligence reports in a secure location, a message came through. A warning from one of Silas's informants. "It's happening tonight," Silas said grimly, his usually calm demeanor replaced by urgency. Vetra's forces are moving on the capital. If we don't act now, they'll take control. Sarah's pulse quickened. We need to alert the government and get the loyal forces mobilized. We can't let them seize power. They quickly sent out encrypted messages to their allies, rallying those still loyal to the alliance. The city, usually serene under the glow of the twin moons, became a battlefield of shadows as Vetra's forces clashed with loyalists. Battle for Xlera. The night sky was lit by streaks of energy fire as the rebellion erupted in full force. Vetra's troops, well-equipped and highly organized, moved swiftly through the capital, overwhelming the city's defenses. But Sarah and Ailas had anticipated their moves. Loyalist forces, bolstered by humans who had trained with the Vraxians, fought back fiercely. In the heart of the city, Sarah and her team pushed forward, trying to reach the government complex where Vetra was expected to make her final move. The streets were filled with the sounds of battle, explosions, the hum of energy weapons, and the cries of soldiers as they fought for control of Xlera's future. As they neared the complex, Sarah spotted Vetra's personal guard. Clad in sleek armor and armed with advanced weaponry, they were formidable. But Sarah's team, trained in the harshest conditions, was ready for them. The fight was intense. Sarah, alongside Axios and their combined human-Vraxian team, pushed through wave after wave of enemies. The air was thick with tension, and every step felt like a struggle toward an uncertain victory. But Sarah's determination never wavered. She knew what was at stake, not just for the humans and Vraxians, but for the entire alliance that symbolized hope for the galaxy. Finally, they reached the government complex, where Vetra was making her last stand. The counselor, once calm and composed, now looked frantic as her forces dwindled. "It's over, Vetra," Sarah called out, her voice echoing through the grand hall. "You've lost. Surrender, and we can avoid more bloodshed." But Vetra was not ready to give up. Her eyes burned with fury. "I will never bow to humans," she screamed, raising her weapon. Before she could fire, Silas stepped forward, speaking with the authority of a leader. "Counselor Vetra, your actions have brought us to the brink of destruction. This is not the way forward. We must unite, not divide." For a moment, it seemed like Vetra might listen. Her hand trembled on the trigger, but just as she began to lower her weapon, one of her lieutenants charged towards Sarah, weapon raised. In an instant, chaos broke out once more. Shots were fired, and Sarah's team scrambled to defend themselves. In the heat of the battle, Sarah managed to disarm Vetra, bringing the counselor to her knees. The room fell silent as the last of Vetra's forces was subdued. "It's over," Sarah said quietly, standing over the fallen leader. "This rebellion ends now. A new future." In the aftermath of the battle, Xlera slowly began to heal. Vetra and her supporters were arrested, and the government, though shaken, reaffirmed its commitment to the alliance with humanity. The victory had come at a cost, but it had also proven the strength of the bond between the two species. Ambassador Asilas stood beside Sarah as they surveyed the city, now bathed in the soft light of dawn. The scars of battle were still visible, but there was hope in the air, a feeling that, despite everything, they had emerged stronger. "You've done more for my people than I can ever repay," Silas said, his voice filled with gratitude. Sarah smiled, though there was a wariness in her eyes. "We've done it together. This alliance is more than just a partnership, it's a promise that we'll stand by each other, no matter what." As the sun rose over Xlera, Sarah knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity's place in the galaxy was still uncertain, but with allies like the Vraxians by their side, there was nothing they couldn't achieve. The stars, once distant and unknowable, were now within reach. And with each step, humanity was ready to rise to the challenge, forging a new future among the stars. The Galactic Council's call. After the rebellion on Xlera had been quelled, the alliance between humans and Vraxians became even stronger. The galaxy was taking notice, and whispers of this powerful partnership spread across various planets. Other species, many of whom had remained isolated or neutral in the broader galactic scene, started showing interest in what the humans and Vraxians had accomplished together. A few months later, Sarah Holt was called to a high-level meeting with the United Earth Council. The message was brief but clear. There was a new development in the galaxy, and Earth had been invited to an extraordinary gathering. The meeting was to take place at the Galactic Council, a governing body made up of representatives from the most advanced and influential civilizations across the galaxy. For centuries, humans had been seen as newcomers, barely scratching the surface of interstellar politics. But now they were being called to the table. Sarah stood in the council chamber on Earth, looking at the projection of the Galactic Council's invitation. Admiral Graves stood beside her, along with other top officials from Earth's leadership. "The Galactic Council?" Sarah asked, her voice filled with surprise. "We've never been invited to one of their sessions before." Admiral Graves nodded, his expression grave. "That's because, until now, they never thought much of us. But the alliance with the Vraxians and the way you handled the rebellion has caught their attention. They want to meet with us, and with you." "Me?" Sarah was taken aback. She had led successful missions before, but to represent Earth at a council made up of the galaxy's most powerful species was a completely different challenge. "You've proven yourself capable, Commander. More than that, you've built relationships and shown that humans can be trusted to lead in times of crisis. That's why we want you to head this delegation," Graves explained. Sarah took a deep breath, the weight of the responsibility settling in. "What do we know about the Council? What do they want from us?" "Officially, the invitation is about recognizing humanity's growing role in the galaxy," said the Council's lead diplomat. "But unofficially, there are rumors of growing instability. The galaxy is changing, and it's possible that the Council is looking for new allies or threats." Sarah nodded. "I'll prepare for the mission." Arrival at the Galactic Council. The journey to the Galactic Council's seat of power took weeks. The Council's central hub was located on a planet known as Renara, deep in the heart of a neutral zone that was home to hundreds of advanced civilizations. The massive space station that orbited Renara was a marvel of engineering. Larger than any human-built structure, it was a city unto itself, teeming with diplomats, traders, and envoys from across the galaxy. Sarah arrived with a small delegation from Earth, including top scientists, diplomats, and military strategists. As they approached the council chamber, the enormity of the task ahead became clear. They weren't just representing Earth, they were representing an entire alliance and the future of humanity's place in the galaxy. Inside the council chamber, representatives from dozens of species sat in circular tiers around a central platform. The Vraxians were already there, with Ambassador Axilas seated at his delegation's table. He gave Sarah a small nod as she entered, a sign of solidarity. At the center of the room stood the Grand Arbiter of the Galactic Council, a tall, imposing figure from a species Sarah didn't recognize. The Grand Arbiter's voice resonated through the chamber as he called the meeting to order. "Today marks a new chapter in galactic history," the Grand Arbiter began. "For the first time, humanity and its allies have been invited to join this council. Their actions in recent times have demonstrated their growing influence and capability, and it is time we hear their voice." Sarah's heart raced as she stepped forward, feeling the eyes of countless species on her. She was about to speak not only for humanity, but for the entire alliance. "Thank you, Grand Arbiter, and thank you to the members of this council," Sarah began, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. "Humanity has long looked to the stars with wonder and curiosity, seeking our place among the many civilizations that call this galaxy home. We faced challenges, as all species do, but through cooperation, resilience, and innovation, we found strength not only within ourselves, but in our partnerships." She paused, glancing at Kailas. "Our alliance with the Vraxians is proof of what we can achieve when we come together. We believe that our future lies not in conflict, but in unity. The challenges ahead of us are great, but together, we can overcome them. The room was silent for a moment before the Grand Arbiter spoke again. You speak of unity, but the galaxy is far from united. There are threats on the horizon, forces that seek to divide us. Tell me, Commander Holt, what role do you see humanity playing in the times to come? Sarah took a deep breath. We're ready to stand with the Council, to work with our allies to ensure peace and stability. But we also understand that the galaxy is changing. Humanity's role will be to adapt, to innovate, and to protect the values that we all share: freedom, cooperation, and the pursuit of knowledge. The rising threat. As Sarah sat in the dimly lit room with Asilas and the other key representatives, the gravity of the situation became clearer. The mysterious species they spoke of, known as the Elverians, had been lurking in the shadows of the galaxy for centuries, seemingly uninterested in galactic politics or power. But recently, reports had emerged of their ships being spotted in the neutral zones and of entire colonies disappearing without a trace. The Elverians are unlike anything we've faced before, Silas explained, his expression grim. They don't negotiate, they don't communicate. They simply arrive and civilizations vanish. Sarah's brow furrowed. Why haven't we heard about this before? Surely the Galactic Council would have prepared for such a threat. One of the council representatives, an elder from a reptilian species called the Troxians, shook his head. We tried, but the Elverians are elusive. They don't engage in traditional warfare. They are patient, calculating, and they attack with precision, targeting the most vulnerable parts of a civilization. We have kept this information secret to avoid panic, but now it's clear they are no longer hiding. Why now? Sarah asked, her voice tinged with frustration. What changed? Silas looked at her with a level gaze. We don't know, but we suspect it has something to do with the advancements in galactic unification. The alliances between species, like ours, might be seen as a threat to their control. Sarah leaned back, processing the information. So, what do we do? The Troxian elder spoke again. That's why you were invited here, Commander. We need humanity's ingenuity, your creativity in battle, and your willingness to challenge the impossible. The Elvarians have underestimated us for too long, but with your help, we may be able to strike back. Sarah nodded slowly. The stakes had just been raised. She had come to the Galactic Council expecting diplomacy, but now she was being thrust into the heart of a conflict that could reshape the future of the entire galaxy. Then we'll prepare, Sarah said firmly. Humanity will stand with you, but we'll need time. We need to understand our enemy if we're going to defeat them. Silas nodded in agreement. Agreed, but time is not something we have in abundance. The Elvarians are moving, and they won't wait for us to be ready. The plan begins. Back on the Vraxian flagship, Sarah and Dylas convened with their teams. A plan was taking shape, one that involved gathering intelligence on the Elvarians, finding their weaknesses, and building a united front of species across the galaxy. Earth's finest scientists and military strategists were already working around the clock, analyzing every piece of data they could find on the elusive enemy. As Sarah stood on the observation deck of the ship, looking out into the vast expanse of space, she knew the path ahead would be fraught with challenges. The Elvarians were unlike any foe humanity had faced before, and the galaxy itself hung in the balance. But she also knew that humans had a unique strength, their ability to adapt, to innovate, and to persevere in the face of overwhelming odds. Silas joined her, standing quietly by her side. After a long silence, he finally spoke. You know, when we first met, I wasn't sure what to make of your kind. But now, I believe you may be the key to saving us all. Sarah glanced at him, a small smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. We're not done yet, Ambassador. This is just the beginning. Together, they stared into the stars, the weight of their mission heavy on their shoulders, but their resolve stronger than ever. The battle against the Elvarians was coming, and the galaxy would never be the same again. And so, with alliances forged and new threats on the horizon, the story of humanity's rise among the stars continued, endlessly unfolding, with hope, determination, and the unbreakable spirit of exploration guiding them forward.